Woo-wee. Yay, World Beat Band. Thank you, Daniel, for all of that good music, for that good drumming. Oh, it kind of reminds me of the meme I put up on our Facebook page this week. There was Mary, you know, she was exhausted. She'd just gotten Jesus to sleep. And a young man shows up and thinks, you know what this woman needs is a good drum solo.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But I love that drummer boy, little drummer
and
boy.
Thanks to Patrick Armitage too for his amazing drumming. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks to Patrick. What a great band. I mean, it's wonderful living here in Asheville and having so many amazing musicians that you're able to work with, Daniel, and thank you for that. Well, good morning, Jubilee.
Good morning.
Today we are continuing with the season of light, and today we're doing the light of Kwanzaa, the light of community, and the light of the inner work, the I am work. We are so blessed today to have Meta Commerce with us. Some of you know Meta, and if you don't know Meta, you're going to get introduced to her. She is the founder of Story Medicine Worldwide. She uses story and song as a way of healing, both at the individual level and at the community and the world level, really healing the divisions within us and between us. So Meta, thank you so much for being here today. Looking forward to yours. So the light of Kwanzaa, this is 7 nights of principles. We're in the second day now that it's shared in families in the African diaspora with the lighting of candles. And we're going to hear more about that later. And we're also celebrating the light of community. There's so many ways to do that here this morning. It really helps if you are able and willing to turn on your video so that we can see each other. We don't get to look around the faces in the circle at the celebration center, but we can see each other here. You can greet each other in the chat. Give your amen corner to the chat. Say yes, yes, thank you. That helps us feel like even though we're in our separate homes and in this two-dimensional world, that we remember we are a multi-dimensional community even now. And I will say that I did not feel like braving the ice and the cold this morning to go down to the celebration center, but Warren, bless his heart, did. There he is with his dog in front of our prayer wall. He'll be lighting candles for us later. So thank you, Warren, for bringing the celebration center to us today. It helps us remember that our community has a base. And part of our community base has been that even through this pandemic, we have continued to raise money to keep people warm this winter. We had 50 Santa gifts for children in foster care. And man, I was there one of the days that Don and Genevieve were receiving those, and the room was just full of beautiful gifts. We're providing gourmet meals, thanks to Delia Bailey, for 65 people without homes each week, or this week. We've done it a few times. They're currently being housed at the Red Roof Inn if they are without homes this winter. And last night, I did what I think a lot of us have been doing this year. I gathered with 4 other women. Each of us live alone in different cities, but we got together on Zoom. And last New Year's Eve, we were all together in my home, and we can't do that anymore. But we realized last night that we have Zoomed regularly through this pandemic. And probably we are closer this year than we were last year when we were all in the same room. So there is this sense of the isolation that we've felt this year has made us appreciate our communities even more. I spoke to another friend who allowed a woman to move in with her this year after she lost her job in her apartment. And then my friend ended up getting very sick and needed someone to live with her. So offering to someone in need a home turned into her own needs getting met in ways that she could not have predicted. And it's a reminder that we do need each other. So if 2020 disrupted our communities, perhaps it also deepened our appreciation of our need for them. So take a deep breath, Jubilee. We are here in community, even as we sit in our different homes. And so we say, thank you, and oh yeah, and let's sing together to welcome that light.
Let's try that again. All right, everybody sing. Joy to the world, the Lord is come. The earth receive her King. The light has come too. Let every heart prepare Christ's room, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing. Let's try that again, shall we? It's morning. Joy to the world, the light has come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare Christ's room, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing. Oh yeah, like that.
Good morning, Jubilee. You know, as we were watching the video earlier, and I was watching the band sing, and they had their mask on, and it got me to thinking about, you know, the different ways that light shines through in life and how we communicate, and how the songs sound so much different when you can actually see someone's lips move. and how it enlightens us with how our bodily senses we're tweaked a certain way, that we're just like with my hands when I talk, there's a way to express ourselves. And it was wonderful to come together at the solstice ceremony, at the bear ceremony, gathering under that star that hasn't been seen in over 800 years, and being in presence of a miracle, in my opinion, and to be witness to the light and the community coming back together, and to feel the camaraderie and to feel the energy and to feel that the energy and the flow of community coming together, and how we light the flame that is the spirit that lives inside of us. So thank you, Jubilee community, for coming out this morning and being present for this moment, and for the Kwanzaa, and for all the traditions that are being honored here today, and the lighting of the light. And just want to go out to those ancestors of the East as we take a deep breath and we honor the rising sun and the light that shines on the path to the future for all of us. And how that we unmask ourselves at any given time so that we might be that light, so that we sing our prayers and we say our prayers and we ask for the things in life and the gifts and the blessings, then we can be recognized in that way. And also to the spirits of the South, and know one breath as one indigenous people of this earth. Thank you. Thank you for the reminders that you give to us. And to the spirits of the North, of the Wind Nation, we thank you. We thank you, Wind Nation, for carrying the messages and the prayers and the songs and the hopes of all the generations. We thank you for all the peace and the joy and the calmness that we feel in our hearts. We thank you for guiding us through those times where we may feel a little uncertain about the future. And to all the ancestors of the universe, thank you for helping to us as a people bring all these energies together to create a destination that is the light of the future generations to come. We thank you for your hearts and your smiles and your laughter. We thank you for your sadness and your tears. We thank you for the balance that is the light that lives within us. And in a good way, we offer this to you. I hope.
Thank you, Yona. Really appreciate you, brother. I invite you to look in the chat. There will be a link for how you can give some money to folks to help them stay warm this winter, and to put some food in their mouths, and to make things a little bit better for people who are really struggling out there. So let's do that as Meta leads us in our opening song today. And you're muted, Meta.
We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like a tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved.
Thank you, Meta. That's so beautiful. So say hey to folks in the chat. It's a little bit different when we can't walk around and look in each other's eyes more closely, but it's a new way to do it now. You know, it's not like divine is any different now than it was before. So now it's just a matter of finding the different way to do it. So right now, look at the videos and send people some love in the chat, privately or publicly. And prepare ye the way of the light. 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 Sing along. Prepare ye the way of the light. 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 One more time. Prepare ye the way of the light. Prepare ye the way of the light. It usually comes looking a little different than it's ever looked before. So it's like looking for where the presumptuousness ends and where the openness and curiosity begins. I was asked to do a gift of drumming today, which is what I think of as the beginning. The beginning from a place of listening to a place of being and doing. That being in the middle, it's like from listening, taking in, to doing. Like the first step between silence and sound is a very magical place. And I think we humans probably learned that thousands and thousands of years ago when we took a rock and dropped it on the ground or hit a tree with it or something, or another rock. Eventually creating technology for making sounds just for the sake of making sounds. Having that experienced. It's not about being good at something. It's about listening and doing something. The question is, what do we do? What do we do? How do we become more human? Let go of all the stuff that we think is so important, just leads to more stress and discomfort and suffering, even death. How do we stop doing something that we are so habituated to? How do we slow down, become a little bit more human? Maybe it's simpler than we think. Definitely simpler than we think. Feel your own body allow these sounds to move you just a little. It's a gift, this sound stuff. It's a gift for us. Let it in. And it's a reminder that the path to the light is really
Daniel,
easy.
we're having a hard time hearing you.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Can't hear the drum?
Not very well.
Oh, shoot. Thanks for letting me know. Is that better? I don't know how much of that came through, but just a reminder, just a quick reminder that we all heard the same sound. Every single one of us have heard the same sound. It's something along the lines of whoosh, 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 whoosh. We have all, every single, not only human, but a lot of other animals on the planet have heard that sound. Something very close to it. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Our mother's heartbeat before we were born. Just a reminder. Aho, thank you.
Now let's move into the Ubuntu meditation. Those of you that want to focus on the meditation, if you would join me just by keeping the sound I am in your mind. You don't have to say it out loud, but say it silently. And Ubuntu is a South African principle of being that's translated into, roughly translated into English, I am because we are. And so using that as our theme, I have 7 little brass bowls here. Each one I will sound and insert the sutra, which will be a principle of one of the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, going from Umoja to Imani. So you'll hear the ring, I'll say the word, and then we'll go to the next one. Here we go. Umoja, unity. Kujichagulia, self-determination. Ujamaa, cooperative economics. Nia, purpose. Kuumba, creativity. Imani, faith. Ashe. The reading this morning comes from the Hebrew Scriptures, Psalms 1. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of the sinner, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law does he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, bringeth forth fruit in his season, whose leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he do shall prosper. The ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. This is ancient wisdom and holy word. All creation is wisdom and holy word.
All creation sings of wisdom and of God. Hallelujah.
All right. So good morning. I'm grateful and happy to be with you all again this morning, and to see your smiling faces and to hear your voices. On this Kwanzaa Sunday, I address a spiritual problem with word medicine. I tie together two symbolic ribbons. The first represents our centuries-old problem of white body supremacy, fully exposed in the U.S. this year. The second ribbon symbolizes Kwanzaa, instituted over 50 years ago to address the healing needs of African Americans. Now, on this last Sunday of 2020, I offer you The Stone Cutter, a 3-part fable as a reminder of both ribbons tied together. Now, ribbons we now see. After each part, I will sing one line from a Negro spiritual. And then at the end, I request 1 minute of silence to help you receive the message. The Stone Cutter. Once upon a time, long, long ago, deep within a remote mountain village of a far-off, cold land, there lived a certain boy. Soon after his birth, in answer to his elders' prayer and according to their ancient tradition, the great stars rained down on him his portion of vitality. But despite his elders' love and this special gift of purpose, the boy grew into manhood with a discontented heart. He saw himself as something else and other. than everyone in the village. From his earliest memories, his elders told him that he was different from no one, but he refused this counsel. He grew hungry to know himself as far more than what they saw in him, and with this hunger came restlessness. He finally renounced his elders' teachings and the ways of his people, believing this could free him from their backward beliefs, wondering if he himself might even be a god. You see, the villagers at that time were also discontent. With a low, persistent grumbling, they struggled greatly under the rule of the monarchy, struggled even to get along. Their king was greedy and cruel. Their law was unyielding and punishments were harsh. People who transgressed were condemned, often tortured and killed in public. Yet they believed themselves superior, exceptional on the earth. But as they worked with their hands and developed crafts, as they became skilled with metal, wood, and stone, they advanced in the knowledge of all things in the land, all things except themselves. They used pain and bloodshed, yes, violence, to eliminate their most pressing problems. They were ultimately ruled by fear and shame. As for the young man, soon into his search, he discovered something. He couldn't get enough of anything he wanted. His sense of himself was far away, his restlessness great, and his hunger so bottomless that he became forlorn. So alone was he that he feared the very life he longed for, and nothing he did, no remedy he tried would free him from his pain. His sense of difference, his fears so deeply rooted that the ever watchful elders became aggrieved, for by then they had tried all they knew, and they saw that the time had come at last to stop offering help and to let him go his way. So he took his inheritance and left the village, leaving behind everyone he knew. Now his secret dream was to someday be a man among men, to make mighty weapons and be a wealthy ruler. That is, instead of following the example of his father. From his father, who had learned this from his father before him, he cut and set stones. And the young man longed to do anything other than continue this tedious toil. This work was too simple. Beneath me, he groaned. By this time, to his anguish, he had begun dreaming the same nightmare again and again, about strange people coming to get him, and about running from them, running, just running away. So, in due time, with all of this discontent, restlessness, his secret dream of powerful manhood, disdain for his work, his recurring nightmares, he decided that he could at least begin by using what he had, and yes, building himself a house. It would be a great refuge, a place too strong for anyone to invade or destroy. He would be protected in his house alike none other. Yes, he would build his strong fortress of a house. And of course, he would build it out of stone. He made his plan, imagined it, how its angles would not be square shaped, but rather shaped like a diamond. As he went looking in the quarry where the elders had told of sacred stones that talked and moved, he assured himself that those old stories meant nothing. He wanted the stones, not the stories, after all. Soon, as in his excitement, he took the biggest, oldest stones he could find. Once he cut his 4 strong cornerstones into shape, he was ready to build. Now, he believed that each stone contained great power, that each stone would feed its power into the next, and that altogether this power would keep the whole house secure, so that no wind, no rain, no thing, nobody that he didn't invite could ever enter his house. Now he was happy with this plan, very happy indeed. Humble me, humble me, humble me, humble me, and let me do thy will. The house. And so, starting to build his great house, he took the best, most fertile land he could find, and straining, grunting, hauling, he managed to get all 4 stones on and off his cart from the quarry to the building place, believing that with these cornerstones and the walls up as high as they could go, his house would be forever set. He couldn't wait to see it standing. And as people did at that time, he held the stones and their power in very high esteem. He decided where each of the great stones should go and placed them there. These stones and their placement represented the sum of his knowledge. The first or headstone would be for his God. Next, to the lower right of the headstone would be the stone for his money. Next, opposite the headstone would be the footstone or the stone for his gender. Next, to the left of the headstone, opposite the money stone, would be the stone for his race. In the heart of the house would be its heat source, pyramid shaped. The heart would pump all the necessary energy to keep his house warm and thriving forevermore. He imagined that people everywhere would admire him so much once the house was built that maybe it wouldn't matter that he was still just a stonecutter. But soon he had an unexpected problem. When he had finally put the cornerstones where he wanted them, he was exhausted. So he thought, and he thought, and he thought, until one day when he was convinced that this problem would not stop him from building his house. Suddenly he realized that he would need others to build the walls and then to build the heart, and that they would have to stay there with him forever in his service to keep it all going in the way that he wanted. He hoped his secret plan would work, but now was unsure. So the stonecutter built a boat. employed a band of men to work on it, and with them he sailed a very long time to a distant land, where with their help he took many things. This land was lush with green forests, rich with spices, gold and diamonds, things he'd never seen, foods he'd never tasted. He ate his fill for the first time in his life, and he took as much of these treasures as he could carry. Then, with the men's help, he took people, as many gentle people of the sun as he could capture and chain, and brought them and the treasures back home. He did not see that besides being gentle, their indigo blue skin made the gentle ones also a creosote people. That is to say, they were extremely strong as they were gentle. Using the weapons he had, his Bible, his money, his gender, and his race, he forced himself upon them, showed them his power, and made them bow down to it. This power made him feel better, mightier. So he continued to sail and find more treasures and capture more people. But with his might and his growing hunger for still more might, there seemed no end to the places and the peoples he could conquer. But wherever on the earth he took his might and his weapons, he brought great destruction, sickness, and suffering. And he pursued his dreams. He ignored this destruction and suffering, for in truth, when it came to others, he himself couldn't feel very much of anything. Not the cold, salty ocean winds on his skin. The stone cutter felt and sensed little more than his own growing sense of power, his own growing fear. Putting the people to sleep with his power, he slowly taught them how to be with him. He forbade them to practice their ancient ways. Then he took their drums, their words, their names, and eventually made them forget. With his weapons, he declared the gentle people to be things that he could own, no longer people of the sun. Yes, without their ways in time, they began to covet, learn, and even master his. He taught them to fear him, that his was the only way to live, that his weapons were so powerful that there was nothing else of value to desire. He noticed how hard and unnatural this was for them, but he demanded they submit. Meanwhile, they suffered. Some lost their minds. Many died, but these he pretended not to see. He pretended long enough that both the pretending and his numbness turned his tiny heart to stone as he grew in untold wealth from the treasures of their lands and from their labor. Eventually, the wealthy stonecutter's blindness, numbness, and hard heart made it easier to keep being brutal and to hide this brutality from his children. Not that they couldn't see it, but because he distracted them from it with all the beautiful gifts that he gave to them, gifts that made them feel special and blessed. He taught his children to turn their backs to all of it, to never recognize nor speak of it. Finally, after so much suffering, and when they saw that it was useless to resist him, enough and most of the gentle people surrendered to the stone cutter in order to survive. These, the strong and supernatural ones, as he called them, were the ones who stayed and got his work done, the ones who received his teachings, the ones who got his house built and ran it just the way he always dreamed, And while this and all the wealth that it brought to him did indeed make him feel safe, his safety was like a flickering candle, sometimes on, sometimes off, because even in their sleep, the strong supernatural people seemed happier than he. They used their music to make themselves happy. With it, they even managed to teach the stonecutter how to sing and dance, how to feel comforted too. And he would spend time wondering why and how they could be so happy after he'd hurt them so, made them forget themselves, made them toil and strive just to please him. And sometimes at night, he wondered why and how they didn't turn against him, why it was that they didn't band together and take revenge. Oh, fix me. Oh, oh, fix me. Oh, fix me. Fix me, Jesus. Fix me. The children. Now, through the generations, something unforeseen happened. One generation of the stonecutter's children secretly began to help the gentle people. They knew that this was dangerous, and they did it at great risk. But with this help, enough gentle people escaped, and their freedom changed the stonecutter's house, as this exodus touched off a great rumbling in its foundation. Later, another generation of the stonecutter's children, a generation named for war, began to feel a great curiosity and a resistance and an urgent need to awaken. But unlike their father, their spirits were humble. So they traveled to distant lands seeking new knowledge, knowledge deeper and more meaningful than what they'd received back home. They wanted to feel something, anything, so they took various preparations designed to expand and open their hearts and minds. They stood up to their father and rebelled. For a long while, they refused to take part in his war or to participate in his powerful ways. Then, despite being named for war, they became known as the generation of peace and of change. This courageous generation learned hope and determination from the gentle people. For without their example, not much in the stonecutter's house would have changed. With it, everything did. Now, all the while, the children of the gentle people began to awaken and rise up too. They worked together and resisted the ways of the stonecutter. They had seen and felt the suffering of their parents, had heard stories about the suffering of their ancestors and elders. They decided to risk everything that they had to break away from this way of life. And in time, that change continued to take hold in the stone house as more and more people learned of their true origins. It was as if they had washed their eyes with the knowledge of their right to be free, that life could not be contained in stone, that there was good life and fresh air beyond the stone walls. But this next great change was met with a haunting. The stonecutter's house was now haunted with the ghost of division, hatred, sickness, and suffering that manifested as yet more destruction and hardship. The ghost used rampant killing to mock the children's learning and progress, making it seem as if nothing much was changing, as if the real change that all the children, those of the stonecutter and the gentle people, had worked so hard for over the generations, the change that could finally bring them together, would not fully manifest anytime soon. The ghost's violence and bloodshed made it seem as if this change was nearly impossible to realize. And after many more years, the children finally began to understand that the problem they were trying to solve was a very deep and old problem of the spirit that needed to be healed by working in their hearts, using their ancestors' ancient ways. With the passage of time, the cornerstones all wept in pain, as that of his God, the church began to repent. His money, its value, died a slow death. His gender, his children rejected it, and his race, this was the slowest to break down. Each of these cornerstones softened, eroded, and crumbled enough so that the walls of his stone house trembled greatly as the sound of this trembling went rippling outward and reached the ends of the earth, so that slowly the people began to leave and seek good shelter where their thoughts could roam, where they could breathe freely, where they could live as they were meant to live. Some even began to remember the teachings of their ancestors. They began to stop coveting his. They finally began to speak the truth of the suffering their people had seen at his hands in the name of his God. Very slowly, they began to remember themselves. Along with this sacred memory came their ability to release their pain. And with this, they understood that to live and be well at last, they would also need to find ways to forgive it. Now, the end of this fable is still being written. No one can say how it will end. But after many, many years, after many millions of lives were damaged and lost in the wars and in the struggle to keep the stonecutter secure and thriving in the way he craved and demanded, after such utter destruction the world over, to the earth, to the peoples, many more people began to awaken and to openly resist his ways. They finally saw how sick they and the earth had become. They saw how much healing would be needed if the human family, its next generations, the earth mother, nature, and life itself are all to survive the stonecutter's invasion. And although ages ago his elders let him go his way, in truth, they never stopped praying for him. They never stopped asking the Great Spirit to help him. And now, joined with elders all over the earth, they pray, they imagine, and they work together still in the peaceful, resolute service of all life. Listen, can you hear their singing drums? Remember me. burn me, oh Lord, remember me. Mm, 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 mm. Oh Lord, remember me.
Let's take a moment to let that sink in and listen to those ancient drums. Thank you, Meta. It was so incredibly powerful. Such a gift. So, to some of the things Jubilee is doing in action. First, I just want to mention that we are finishing up our pledge campaign for 2021. So this is the time of year when we as a community get very practical and look at what we need for the year to come. And you all make pledges and commitments to say, yeah, we want to have Jubilee continue for the year. And so you fill out your pledge form and make your donations for the year, or what you will donate in the year to come. So this year, our theme is sustaining a courageous community of love. And when you pledge, that is what you're committing to be in solidarity with that. So there should be a link over inside for, if you haven't pledged yet, how to make your pledge for the year to come. And thank you so much for the generosity and support so many of you have given already. And there's been a lot of other ways that the community has stepped up in this season of light. One way, several of them Laura mentioned at the beginning, I just want to mention them again, that through Jubilee, we've provided again meals for Room at the Inn by Delia Catering, which is pretty amazing, for 65 folks who are being housed at the Red Roof Inn. We also spent about 5,000 plus, that's conservative, to buy gifts for foster kids. And we've also raised so far, just through 2 projects, almost $9,000 for the Heating Fund. And you can still help be a part of that through our Bazaar, which is our online auction this year. There's really amazing things from fine art to jewelry to retreat center or meditation retreats to just to like rice bags for heating up your neck and things like that. So check it out. Again, the link is in the side. There's lots of ways, amazing gifts for yourself and others. You can also get a personalized song by Brian Claflin or a personalized poem by John David Short. So make sure you check those out. Also, while we weren't able to get together for Christmas Eve due to our lovely weather, there are a couple ways to get together in the coming days and weeks. We'll continue our New Year's Day bonfire with small little bonfires around the city. You can sign up at the link on the side. There's different times and different locations. Looks like we're can do our labyrinth walk from Christmas Eve. We're looking at the 3rd, but we'll send an email out to confirm that. And the lovely, amazing David Sharp is going to be offering storytelling event at the amphitheater where Montfort Park Players performs on Tuesday at 1:30. So it'll be COVID safe. And if you're not able to make it, he will also offer stories personally to you by phone or Facebook Live. So his information's over in the side. Also, the racial equity team is continuing their book club. That's going to start on January 17th. If you're interested in being part of that, please email Melody LeBaron. And we also are with Lee Warren offering an end-of-life literacy and paperwork workshop. It's a way to honor your life and the loved ones as you prepare for your death. And I know twice now in the last few years, I've sat with people, one being my mom and one being my best friend, about what their wishes are when they pass. And it offers so much relief to me that I know I can honor them. And also knowing that the paperwork, the legalities are sort of taken care of. So really encourage you to, if you haven't done that yet, to sign up for that workshop. So lots of ways that Jubilee is in action, that you all are making this community a community of light. So with that, we will turn it over to Daniel. Thank you all so much.
So many ways to make this world a better place. In a world full of hate, be alive. When you do somebody wrong, make it right. Oh, don't hide in the dark. You were born to shine. In a world full of hate, be a light. In a world full of hate, be a light. When you do somebody wrong, make it right. Oh, don't hide in the dark. You were born to shine. In a world full of hate, be a light. One more time. In a world full of hate, be a light. When you do somebody wrong, make it right. Oh, don't hide in the dark. You were born to shine. In a world full of hate, be a light. Yeah, it's hard to live in color when you see just black and white. In a world full of hate, be a light.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Daniel. And thank you, Meta. And I would like to invite all of us to send Meta a blessing through these airwaves. Rub your hands together, probably help you warm up anyway. And we'll just do a little call and response without being able to hear all the responses, but knowing that we're responding nonetheless. And so, Meta, we want to send you this blessing with thanksgiving for being here today. Meta Commerce, we see you and we hear you. Meta Commerce, thank you for a fable that will sink into our souls. Thank you for this Kwanzaa reminder that the ancestors continue to pray. And so we bless you. We thank you. We see you. We appreciate you. We see the light in you. Aho, Ashe. Well, friends, another celebration is coming to an end. And we're going to sing ourselves out, still in the season of Gloria in Excelsis Deo. You can all turn on your mics. We will be cacophonous and beautiful in our chaos. And then be sure to stay on for our breakout rooms so that we can continue community in a different way. Happy New Year almost. See you in the new year. Peace.
Uh-oh.
In excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo.
Let's do it again. It was so gorgeous.
Gloria in Gloria in excelsis Deo.
For those.